Yeah, dude. See, FM release date's tomorrow. No crazy. You're like, release date's tomorrow. It's serious business. I eat a furry burger. You should go directly to the hospital. Dude, there's so much World Cup qualifying going on today. Oh, my. So much! Faroe Islands is bottling, though, chat. Faroe Islands is bottling. Zealand appear. I'm not just going to jump scare you. I'm going to give you, like, ample and sufficient warning that I'm going to pop up. I'm not just going to, like, appear. You know, probably like a nice 5-minute out. At least your country can make the Euros. I don't think mine can. I appreciate the thought, though. All we've got to do is invade! Yeah! So hear me out. If we invade Greenland, we could play in the Euros. The U.S. should be in Oceania, dude. We're eligible. American Samoa or Midway Island. Put us in Oceania. America against Tahiti for a spot in the World Cup. Let's go. Who is Madagascar? It's a great series of films that involves kung fu penguins and a couple of other talking animals. Now, Madagascar has always been decent. Thank you to Evan for the 19 months and the Twitch Prime. Tafka, thank you for the 56 months. Karuya, thank you for the 25 months. Spotba, thank you so much for the 39 months. Brother, hope you're well enough. Starian, thank you so much for the Prime. Scumbag Steve, doing scumbag things with a 3-month sub. I appreciate it, brother. I predict US 2 or Tahiti 2, US 1. Yeah, I mean, if it's in Tahiti, tough road game. It's raining coconuts. What's up, dude? How you doing? Welcome to the stream today. My name's Zealand. Hello, Twitch. Hello, YouTube. I told you I wasn't going to jump scare you. That was unfair. Callum, thank you for the 48 months. Congrats on the 4 years. How can you tell the difference between a scientist and a laborer? See how they pronounce unionization. It's actually a very good joke. Because I believe the scientist would say unionization. Because that is also like a word. That's very good. That's an A-. I'm going to give that a seated applause. You got to have a big brain to get that one, chat. Big brain. We're tracking World Cup qualifying all day, having a chill Friday stream. I hope your Friday has been great so far. We'll spend a couple hours hanging out together, if that's all right. You have absolutely no choice in the matter. We have to spend a couple of hours hanging out together. Halftime coming across all of the European World Cup qualifying. It's got a little CONCACAF sauce going on later. Africa's got 5 matches in motion right now, including a huge, and I am not over-exaggerating, huge showdown between Senegal and Sudan that could knock Senegal out of the World Cup. Not fully officially, but they are in danger, right? They are in danger. But, of course, we've got plenty of results from yesterday, including up to and including Lionel Messi's final game in Argentina, right? Graphics reveal yesterday left me yearning. Oh, my boy Lindog is yearning. This dude's come straight out of 1700s poetry for Football Manager. Nalip! Thank you so much for the 10 months. Ozzy, thank you for the 32 months. Thank you guys for supporting the stream. And Nalip, thank you so much for the Prime, dude. Pray for Venezuela to qualify. So here's the real fun part about South American qualifying. Let me pull that up for you. As a World Cup qualifying scientist, as it were, South America is a suckfest. And specifically, who is going to suck the least? All right. These are the standings with 1 match to play, meaning Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Ecuador, Colombia, and now Paraguay with just 13 goals in 17 matches. They have drawn their way with just 6 wins in 17 into the World Cup. They will be going to the World Cup. Congratulations to Paraguay. Chile and Peru are out. They are buns. They are ass salad. They are terrible. Both of them have only won 2 of 17 games in qualifying, and they get to play Venezuela and Bolivia. So, awful, bad, brutal, terrible. Even if they got screwed in 1 match, both of those nations need a full reset. Now, the drama is between Venezuela and Bolivia. Now, Venezuela controls its own destiny. The problem is they're playing Colombia, right? And Colombia is obviously a decent team. The good news is Venezuela is at home. So if Venezuela is able to win their match against Colombia. Oh, I have the, we are not playing 2K today. Oops. See you later. If Venezuela is able to win their match at home, they go to the Intercontinental Playoff. That's what this spot is. What is that? B, fine. It's a solid dad joke. I'm going to give it a B. There's 1 game left? I know. I'm talking about the 1 game left. I said with 1 match to play. That's why Peru and Chile are out. That's why everybody else is already guaranteed through. Now, Bolivia is at home, which is the only reason I'm going to give them a chance. All right? Because Bolivia at home is maybe the best team on earth. Maybe. The problem is they're at home against Brazil. Do you believe? Oh, also, Bolivia has to win. I'm an idiot, dude. I'm an idiot for hyping this up. I'm an idiot for giving myself any belief that it can happen. Bolivia has to win. They're at home against Brazil. They have to win. If they don't, their goal difference is not good enough. A draw, and Venezuela would have to lose by like 12 goals. They'd have to lose by 13 goals. They're not going to lose by 13 goals at home against Colombia. Yeah, Abdul, that still wouldn't work because then it would come down to, goals for, actually. If it comes down to goals for, I think a 12-0 loss would work as long as Venezuela does not score. Bolivia would go through if Venezuela loses by 12 goals. No way Bolivia wins against Brazil. You say that, but we're talking about a Brazil that has won 8 of 17 matches, has lost 5, right? And has 3 more points than Paraguay with 1 match to play. So this isn't your daddy's Brazil, right? These guys are not like, there's only one great team in South America right now, and it's Argentina. And I think that's pretty obvious from this table. Do not be fooled by the fact Brazil is in second. They are way closer to these dudes than they are to Argentina right now. I mean, there's still Brazil in the sense that they're going to have a starting 11 of a bunch of players in top 5 leagues that are playing a lot, but they lack they're just not, they're the sum of the team is worse than the sum of the parts. There's the phrase, the sum is greater, the sum is great. Well, what is that phrase, dude? Why can I not remember that damn phrase? Greater than the sum of their parts. That's the phrase. They are worse than the sum of their parts. That's the phrase. Okay. Brazil is worse than the sum of its parts. They do not play well. I mean, they could be, but once they go to the World Cup, Brazil always has a chance, right? But Brazil has been just bad. And so Bolivia has, with elevation and an actual reason to play, Brazil is already going to the World Cup, fully guaranteed. They have no extra motivation. Bolivia now, for the first time in living memory, has a match that if they win, they could be going to the World Cup, right? They're trying to get to 7th, which would be the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Playoff, yes, as somebody pointed out earlier. The ICBM playoff against other qualifiers from different continents, but the team from South America is definitely going to be a favorite no matter who it is. You're saying Ancelotti's a fraud. No, he just got there. Most of this damage was done without Ancelotti, and to be fair to them, they did just beat Chile 3-0. Now, to be fair to Bolivia's chances, Chile is objectively terrible. They have been so bad for this entire qualifying cycle. Just awful. City on rock and roll. Banging music on the Twitch, by the way. Sorry, YouTube, that I can't get you guys the bangers. But that's the situation here. There is no other drama in South America anymore. And I say it's a suck-off because Venezuela has gone out, lost its last 2 matches, and held on to the 7th spot. Bolivia did manage to get that home win over Chile, though, to make it interesting. So I appreciate them doing that, but it's not that interesting. But that's why it's a suck-off. Venezuela, for example, if Venezuela draws or loses, Venezuela will be going to the Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff with 4 wins from 18 matches. I feel like that's just wrong. I feel like that's just wrong. I mean, that's what 7 out of 10 teams making it out of. South America needs to add some teams, bro. They need to bring Guyana and Suriname in. Just, they need more teams. Which continent are they playing? That's not how it works anymore. It's based off world ranking. The Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff has 1 team from South America, 1 team from Africa. It'll have 2 teams from CONCACAF, Asia, Oceania, 1 team from each of those. Why did the Caribbean go north instead of south? Because culturally, it's the Caribbean culturally is its own thing, and it's just part of North America, I guess. I don't know. I didn't make the rules. Donatello, thank you for the 2 months, brother. Horik, thank you for the 25 months. Ninja Panda, thank you for being a great mod. Thank you for the 64 months. Your dad joke, it caused me exceptional pain. Kev, thank you for the 33 months. Bjorn the Blacksmith, thank you for the 15 months, brother. Appreciate you guys supporting the stream on Twitch. Hell yeah, man. Why are Chile so bad? I don't know. Maybe it got too spicy for them. Because the name is... It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. Chat, what the hell? It's terrible. What do you even watch? Yeah, Peru's been bad too. They've been bad too. Maybe they need to peruse the unemployment line. It's terrible. It's terrible. So that's South American qualifying, chat. Obviously, that's South American. Egypt has scored against Ethiopia, their biblical enemy. Big man, thank you for being a great mod. I hope everything is all right, brother. And I appreciate these 64 months. I watched your Haiti doc earlier, and now I'm rooting for them in CONCACAF qualifying. Absolutely good call. Yeah, they are playing tonight. They play Honduras tonight. It's kind of a big one. It's kind of a huge one, actually. Because, oh, no, Costa Rica. This group sucks, dude. One of Honduras, Costa Rica, or Haiti is going to miss out on a top 2 spot. And then there's just Nicaragua. Like, I am a country. They're just hanging out. Absolute embarrassment to Central America. Nicaragua. No. You know who's an embarrassment to Central American football? Belize. And they get away with it because nobody cares about them. But I'm going to call them out. I'm going to lock eyes with them. At least Nicaragua's here. What is Belize doing? You got Panama made their first World Cup recently. You got Honduras that's been to a few World Cups, right? You got Guatemala that made some serious noise at the Gold Cup. I think they made it to the semifinals, right? You got Mexico, obviously. They're freaking Mexico. You got El Salvador drew the United States in World Cup qualifying. They won their World Cup qualifying match last night. Then you've got Nicaragua just playing around. And then you got Belize. That's not even a real place. They're terrible. They got to get it together. They're on a completely different... Oh, and then Costa Rica, of course, that's had multiple magic moments at the World Cup. Belize. I do not believe in them. No, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not. That wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even worth it. Nope. Wasn't even worth it, chat. We're not even going to do the whole zoom in on my face thing. Whatever. We're not even going to do it. All right, African qualifying today. We got some interesting results. Guinea got the win over Somalia. That's a win they desperately needed. Keeps the pressure on Uganda and Mozambique for that second place spot. Algeria is still okay because they got that win yesterday against Botswana, baby. Yeah. Uganda's still in second, though. The problem for Uganda is that is not going to be good enough for them. Second place in Africa is fool's gold. You got to win your group, basically. If you get second place, you have almost no chance of making it to the World Cup, which is sad but true. So, like Burkina Faso, I mean, at least they're alive. This group's kind of settled up, honestly. The only thing interesting that could happen is if Egypt fumbles the bag somewhere, but they're not fumbling the bag against Ethiopia. If they didn't beat Ethiopia, that lets Burkina Faso back in, kind of. Dude, drawing Sierra Leone, that's how teams like Burkina Faso blow it. Teams like Egypt never draw Sierra Leone, where teams like Burkina Faso will just have one bad day and draw Sierra Leone. This is what Mali does every time. Just pop the Mali. I'm upset. Again. Terrible. Where are they? It's going to make me angry. In third. Why are you in third? You have so much talent. You stupid country. You're losing to a movie. Madagascar has nobody with the pedigree of multiple Malian players, and yet Madagascar has got 13 points. They have 13 points. 0-0 draw against Mali. When do they play? Madagascar plays Chad. Oh, Mali's doomed. Well, no. How are you behind Madagascar? I mean, look, Comoros is dangerous. They beat Ghana at AFCON like 2 cycles ago. Comoros has leaned into the diaspora. I don't know why I did air quotes. They've leaned into the diaspora, and all of a sudden they've got a bunch of dudes playing in like the French second division that are on that team. So Comoros is solid. Madagascar is one of those teams where I know that they're pretty good because I track results of like Africa Cup of Nations and World Cup stuff, right? I always track international results, so I know Madagascar is competent. I have no idea where the hell these guys are playing. That's what we need to figure out. Because it's not like Sudan, where the entire Sudanese team is pretty good, but they all play in the Sudanese league, and so you have no idea who they are. These guys all play in France. This guy plays for Mustard Nantes. Lithuania, obviously. Duh. Scotty Suzuki. Dude, African national teams are so fun. This guy plays in Thailand. This guy plays in Bulgaria. This guy's in Reunion at 29. Baguio Rakotoriasoa. Oh, yeah, I remember this guy. This guy's name is incredible. Arnaud Randrianantanina. Randrianantanina. By the time you've said it, he's already scored a second goal. That's how good he is. And the goalkeeper, right? Oh, no, they don't have the goalkeeper with the crazy long name anymore. Sad. Got a guy in Italy. Dude in the Egyptian league. They have two guys in Thailand. Not even quite sure how they've swung that. Dinamo Bucharesti in Romania. Three guys balling out in Belgium, because why not? I mean, it's pretty good in terms of like footballing pedigree. Paris FC right here. 19-year-old El Hadari Raharininiana. Nailed that first try. Nailed that first try. Yeah, don't sleep on Sudan. Everybody that sleeps on Sudan ends up regretting it. Every single person. They still have a chance to go to this World Cup. Okay, so that's Madagascar. That's how they've managed to do this. This is the really This is one of the really interesting ones, though. Doo-doo. DR Congo, even if Senegal wins, is still there. This is Sudan, obviously. This group has been stratified. Mauritania, who went to AFCON 2 times ago, they're not good. They're not kosher. Decidedly unkosher. Sudan's going to lose, though? Yeah, I think they're down 1-0. Oh, they're down 2-0. Oh, I mean, this was a 0-0. When Sudan played at home in Mauritania, because, civil war and all, this was 0-0. Okay, Senegal's delivering. Senegal has to deliver, but they are delivering. And Sudan is going to basically be out at that point. It'd be 3 matches left, 4 points off DR Congo, 3 points off Senegal. I think that basically cooks Sudan's goose. But we knew that their goose was already cooked because they drew South Sudan. Remember, we watched this. It's like such a hype goal for South Sudan. Bit of a derby, civil war and all. Bit of a derby. And South Sudan scored in the 98th minute to basically ruin Sudan's hopes and dreams. And then there's whatever the hell's going on here, which your eye's probably not going to pick up on this initially. It's probably not going to pick up on this initially, but I can help you out. Nigeria's in 4th. Nigeria's in 4th. Yeah, you don't look there because you're like not looking for Nigeria in 4th, but they have 7 points from 6 matches right now. When do they play? Is it tomorrow? Senegal's taking care of business. Nigeria basically needs to win every game they have. Congo and Eritrea is canceled. Oh, yeah, they play Rwanda at 12 tomorrow. Come on. My 3rd favorite hotel, dude. You've got this. South Africa, meanwhile, 4 straight wins. They just beat their own state, Lesotho. I mean, they're just taking care of business. South Africa hasn't been to a World Cup since they hosted the damn thing in 2010. They got screwed out of a World Cup 4 years ago. Yeah, Rwanda drew Nigeria. That was the problem for Rwanda, right? No, they didn't draw Nigeria. They lost. Who did they oh no, they beat South Africa. That was it. Rwanda smoked South Africa like a Sunday brisket, 2-0 out of nowhere. Wait, there used to be a meme. I want to see if I can find it. I want to see why it was so funny. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. Damn. It was like you just got Rwandan, and it was some funny Rwandan music with all these flashing lights. Are you going to comment on European qualifiers? Yeah, absolutely, dude. 100%. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Wait, Zealandism just uploaded? That's sick. Nice. I mean, I love a Zealandism upload. You know, I like to watch that stuff while I eat lunch and stuff. Quality content creator right there. On Zealand's life, Morocco's going to qualify? Bro, chill. Wait, hold on. What? What? Hold on. All right? We can't just go wagering my life on this stuff. They look really good to qualify, but let's take a break here. I like living. I like being alive. Let's calm down for a second. Do, 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 do. Yeah, South Africa, outside of the fact that they lost to Rwanda. Ooh, South Africa, Nigeria is next. Oh, yes. Oh, that's this window. South Africa plays Nigeria. What day? Probably Tuesday. Wow. South Africa can clinch a spot in the World Cup. If Benin fails to win that match or loses, who the hell do they play? Lesotho, probably not going to blow it. Benin's the West African country that's always forgotten. And they are in second right now. The problem is that, like, the second place standings, you got to be in the top four, and Benin is very much not. They need to, even though they are in second, they can't just finish in second in advance. They have to put together a nice run. They need to beat Lesotho, quite honestly. They need to beat Lesotho. Because you got to be top four in the second place teams to survive. And then you go into a playoff with the, these four teams. The winner of that playoff goes to the Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff. It is basically one of the 9 second place teams will go to that playoff. Everybody else is out, not going to the World Cup. Of course, Senegal is still going to be in second, but if they win, they're at 15. And so I think if you put Senegal in the playoff, they're very dangerous. Yes, we all know. Or are you talking about Bolivia? Never mind. So they have to qualify for the playoffs? I mean, Benin probably does, yeah. Benin probably does. Like, one of the playoff teams is going to be either DR Congo or Senegal, as long as Sudan doesn't pull off a big comeback, right? Burkina Faso is probably one of them, or Egypt if they somehow get upset by Burkina Faso, right? Because those groups, they're just putting up a lot of points. Same with this group, which is the next group. So Rwanda plays Nigeria. You'd expect Nigeria to win and end Rwanda's World Cup dream, but if Rwanda somehow manages to not lose, they've basically eliminated Nigeria with 3 matches to play because they'd be on 8 points. Even if they won all 3 matches, they would be on 17, which might not be good enough. Certainly wouldn't be good enough to win the group. South Africa would basically have that spot locked down. Then there's Group D. Cape Verde, currently running ahead of Cameroon right now. Libya has been Libya, they're like Slytherin. They've been employing every dark art imaginable to keep themselves in this. Angola, Mauritius, and Eswatini are basically out. But their next game is Eswatini. Oh, the viewing. Oh, the viewing is unreal. Oh, there's no way we're getting Cape Verde, Cameroon. This is interesting because this is like the one game that's going to determine whether Cape Verde or Cameroon gets the automatic spot and the other one goes to the playoff. It's the one game. And if you know anything about World Cup qualifying history, you know this is the game Cape Verde always loses. This is the game Cape Verde always loses. And to be fair, this is the game Cameroon always wins. They play with fire a lot, but they get it done at the end of the day. This is the game Cameroon always wins. This is the game Cape Verde always loses. And it's coming up on Tuesday. It's coming up on Tuesday, dude. If it's 1-1, that actually keeps it really alive for the final two matches. Libya is hoping it's a draw because Libya will beat Eswatini. If it's a draw, Libya's back in. Because Libya has enough points that if they can get a couple of wins down the stretch, they actually can get through as a second-place team. I don't think they'll be able to catch both, but they might be able to catch one. The problem, and this is like a really significant problem, is Libya is not good. And so they're going to need a lot of luck. Because Libya is bad. They are bad at the sport. They are not very good. They don't have good players. They have survived to this point by like trapping teams in their airport, throwing like, I can't remember, it might have been Cameroon. Like they have to install this really long tunnel because the fans basically throw a ton of stuff at the other team. Libya is like a football Wild West. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's so fun. Libya could lose to Eswatini and just remove themselves from the equation. If they beat them and Cape Verde and Cameroon draw, Libya is alive. The problem is I don't see them actually being able to do it because the moment they have to actually beat somebody, they're not going to be able to. Okay, they do have Cape Verde, but they've got Cape Verde in Libya, which... and then they've got at Mauritius, which is a nice island vacation that they are better than Mauritius. They should be able to win that game. Libya could probably beat the United States. We already tried that, brother. The Air Force took care of business. Hell yeah, bald eagle. What? Yeah, Libya at home against Cape Verde. If Libya turns it all the way up, they lock Cape Verde in their hotel and then like set off the sprinklers and then, you know, whatever else Libya's cooking. They might be able to get something out of that match. Cape Verde's just better than them, though. Cape Verde's just objectively a good team with good players. How do CONCACAF quals work? It's a bit convoluted. It's actually not that convoluted now that we're at this point. The final round of CONCACAF qualifying just started last night, so it's a little easier. We'll get to that in a bit. Morocco's going through. Republic of Congo has come back and is ready to play their matches. They had to forfeit, I think, a couple or not. I don't remember. But this group's all jacked up because Eritrea doesn't want to play any games. Ever since COVID, Eritrea has been like, whoosh, and then disappeared. Like that meme. They're just gone. They don't play games anymore. So this group was already truncated. Like you're only going to get 8 matches instead of 10, and Morocco's just won all of their matches. Who I feel bad for, though, is Tanzania. Because now they're in second, right? They've lost to Morocco both times. They drew Republic of Congo, which is hashtag embarrassing. But Tanzania's not going to have as many matches as all the other second-place teams. I don't think Africa's going to do anything about that. Eritrea doesn't want to play away because they don't want their players to run away. True. But then they become Alexander Isak, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Fredinho, thank you for the prime, brother. Appreciate the 4 months. And Hawaii Basker, thank you for the 2 months. How do you tell what gender an ant is? You toss it in the water. If it sinks, it's a girl. And if it floats, it's a boy ant. It's buoyant. You know, it's a great dad joke when the first 2 ratings are A- and F from the chat. Shout out Hawaii Basker for the 2 months. I'm going to give it a B. It's a buoyant. It's buoyant. Yeah. No, this whole group has just been messed up because Congo got suspended for a little while. Now they're back. I don't even know what's happening with them. There's basically 4 teams actually competing in this group. Tanzania's probably screwed. Morocco just has to avoid getting caught up in the nonsense, and they have avoided that. So they look good to go to the World Cup. And then there's Group F, which is where you have Gabon flying high. Their only loss was, of course, 1-0 at Ivory Coast, naturally. But they got everything else figured out. They've won every other match, including their match against Seychelles. But Seychelles is a glorified vacation zone, so that makes sense. They've allowed 34 goals in 7 matches. Tough to be Seychelles right now. Every other team in this group had a chance. Gambia has been super disappointing. Burundi somehow has toughed their way to third. No idea. I love Gabon. Retweet if you were a true Gaboner. I think that's real, chat. I think that's real. No, they didn't concede 32. They conceded 34. Sorry. Yeah, they conceded 34. So Ivory Coast's matchup is against Burundi. If Ivory Coast wins against Burundi, they will jump into first, and Gabon will be a very good second place team. This is the Fighting Pierre-Emerick Aubameyangs. Can you believe it? No, they're, yeah. Victor Wembanyama. That's not his name. That's Wemby, the NBA player. What's the Kenyan guy who played for Tottenham? What's his name? It's in the neighborhood, but for some reason my brain's just molded it into a 7'4" basketball freak. Wanyama. It's close. Wanyama. Obviously. Wanyama. Yeah, I don't know if is he even there? Is he even playing anymore? Let's look at their score against Gambia. This is Gambia. So no. But yeah, this group's basically just 2 teams. Can Ivory Coast manage to stay ahead of a really rampant Gabon? Ivory Coast drew Kenya, though. So we're dumping on Kenya. They actually had a draw there. Algeria's running first. They've won 6 of their 7. Their only loss was at home against Guinea. Guinea, of course, very similar to Mali. Very talented, dangerous team. Can never do anything in World Cup qualifying at all. They're behind Uganda and Mozambique. Wow. Dude. Uganda in a massive 6-pointer. Just 4 goals all in the second half. Wow. The fighting chicken. Turns out it's tougher than the AK-47. Huge win for Uganda. Puts them in second place, and they're going to need to do some work, obviously, in their last 3 matches to get that second place through. Next match, though, is against Somalia. And unless they're a Black Hawk helicopter, they should be able to handle that one pretty easily. Botswana's still alive as well. Everybody loved what they were doing against Algeria. Botswana wins its final 3 matches, it would be on 18 points, and that would be good enough. So this is a very interesting group. Now, is that going to happen? No. But it is possible, right? It is possible. But Uganda's World Cup dream is very much alive. Guinea also got the win against Somalia, so they are still going. Their matches, well, we're going to find out real quick. Algeria's playing Guinea. If Guinea can find a way to win that match. Dude, Guinea beat Algeria, lost to Mozambique, Uganda. They drew Somalia, bro. Shout out Somalia. Big result. They drew Guinea, a team that beat Algeria. And that's the problem with teams like Guinea and Mali. They've got these guys that play for big teams in top leagues, and then somehow they do that. If Guinea had just beaten them, they would be in second place right now. Same point total with Uganda and Mozambique. Yikes. All right, next group. This one just angers me because Equatorial Guinea should have 16 points. They got screwed by FIFA, so instead they have 10, and instead Namibia's in second. Namibia just lost to Malawi. They do not have the firepower to... Really, Tunisia's all right. Tunisia might guarantee... They play Equatorial Guinea next. That's going to be a really tough match. I think Tunisia will win, and if Tunisia wins and Namibia... I mean, if Tunisia wins, they're going to the World Cup. Guaranteed. They will have locked up the first spot in the group. Equatorial Guinea getting screwed out of 6 points at the start. They beat Liberia and Namibia, but both of those wins were overturned by FIFA because of an allegedly ineligible player who is now playing for them again. Yeah, I'm so angry for Equatorial Guinea. They're the second best team in this group. They have not been able to show it. Now, their draw was against Namibia, which at Namibia... It's a really long road trip. Namibia is way down there, dude. Namibia's bottom left corner of Africa. It is also not a terrible national team. They have made I think they made 2 AFCONs ago. They made it to AFCON. So like they're not a Liberia. Namibia is better than Liberia. As you can tell by the standings, man. Then in Group I, Ghana surviving. This is the one we were looking at earlier with Comoros and Mali still alive. Madagascar is alive. Big match for Mali. They're playing at Ghana. If Ghana wins, Mali loses, then Madagascar wins. And Madagascar's going to win. They're playing against Chad, which great guy, not a great national team. So that being said, Chad did just do this. They did just draw Ghana like 2 days ago. So maybe Chad's unlocked something. Maybe they're dangerous. Maybe Madagascar won't win. Comoros gets to play against Central African Republic, a match they should win, which will... I mean, Comoros would be on 15 points with 2 matches left if they win that. That would be really impressive, right? You could end up with a situation where Madagascar is on 16, Comoros is on 15, and Mali's on 12. Mali. Goodness gracious, Mali. All right, and there's the second place team rankings, which there's a couple teams that haven't played 7 yet, so we'll see what happens. Chad moved to a new big stadium. Yeah, that stadium they were playing in was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing. So somebody asked how CONCACAF qualifying works. This is it. It's 3 groups of 4 teams. If you win the group, you go to the World Cup. If you finish second in the group, you got to just not be the worst second place team. So if you finish second in the group, you just need to be better than one of the other 2 second place teams. Because 2 of the 3 second place teams are going to the Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff. If you finish 3rd or 4th, you are out. If you're the worst second place team, you are also out. The only matches that have been played were El Salvador beating Guatemala 1-0 and Suriname and Panama drew. Like it was 0-0. But huge opportunity for basically everyone, right? Except for Bermuda. I think Bermuda's the worst team that's made it to this point. This group is a mess. These 4 teams are very, very similar levels. And so who has any idea who's going to win that group? Group B, Jamaica is talent-wise the best team in CONCACAF outside of Mexico, the U.S., and Canada. They never deliver on it, though. They're like Brazil right now. They are worse than the sum of their parts. And so Curacao and Trinidad and Tobago will have an opportunity. Bermuda basically has no shot. They don't really have anybody. They're just happy to be here. They've got like a triangle, but... You know, we need more cowbell, less triangle. So Bermuda, yeah, I'm impressed they made it here. No. Then Group C, where you have 3 teams, in my opinion, that are like World Cup level. Costa Rica is probably going to win the group, which leaves Honduras and Haiti fighting for second, and then Nicaragua's just there, right? You think Curacao would get... Why would you think Curacao would get a lot of Mexican players? They speak Dutch. Curacao is a Dutch colony. Yo, Otto, thank you for the 70 months, dude. Yeah, baby. I mean, you can make your picks, but it's basically just a straight up group stage to determine who's going to the World Cup. You win the group, you go, you finish second. You might have a shot at the ICBP, the playoff. Are you working on another Hidden Grounds? Yes, we recorded one in Arkansas. Curacao is a very athletic island. They are very good at baseball, and they also have a national... Curacao, I love Curacao because it is the only country that has a chance, really, to break Iceland's record of the smallest country to make the World Cup. They only have 140,000 people, but they absolutely are good enough that if things go their way, they could finish second in this group, maybe even first, right? They are a pretty talented team. When it comes to CONCACAF teams, like they make the Gold Cup regularly, right? They could do it. They could do it. They got guys that play at a high level. Yeah, and then Haiti, dude, Haiti, the issue with Haiti, right? I mean, there's a few, right? But the issue with the Haitian national team is the permits. Haiti's national team is quite often dictated, its selection is dictated by who can get visas to travel. And so I met and talked to the former U20 coach of Haiti who resigned from the job because he got so frustrated that he'd call up a team and half the guys couldn't go, and then he'd have to call up more people, right? And so Haiti's issue is they can't get visas for their players, which always annoyed the hell out of me, right? They can't, there should be some sort of exemption for if you've got these national teams, like national delegations traveling. They should be able to get visas to come play a match. I don't know. Obviously, this is much bigger than sport when you're talking about visas and what goes into that. But, you know, a week-long visa to go play a match. Yeah, so Haiti, if Haiti could call up its best 11 guys and they could actually go, yeah, I'd give them a really good chance to upset Costa Rica. They can't, though, and so I think Costa Rica takes this group. Even though they're kind of out of the Keylor Navas, Brian Diaz era that made the quarterfinals at the World Cup, they're still better than Honduras and Haiti. Have we looked at Asian qualifying? Are they even playing this window? I don't think they are. Because they've already drawn the final round of Asian qualifying. I don't think Asia's playing. Then you give yourself away. No, they play next month. They kick it off next month. They're just playing friendlies right now. They're not playing in this window. Asia's always ahead, right? Asia's already sent 6 teams through, dude. Iran, Uzbekistan, South Korea, Jordan, Japan, Australia. All 6 of those teams are already going to the World Cup, guaranteed, signed, sealed, delivered. And then you've got the 6 teams going to the next round, which that's what this looks like. If you win your group here, just for those that don't know, you go to the World Cup. If you finish second, because Asia's qualifying just takes forever. If you finish second, you have a playoff with the other second place team, home and away. If you win that, you go to the Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff. So probably Saudi Arabia, right? They're disappointed that they have to go through this extra stage, but probably Saudi Arabia. Here I have no idea. I would say Qatar, because Qatar has won consecutive Asian championships, which is ridiculous, right? That is not... I don't care what continent you come from. If it's not called Oceania, it is hard to win a continental championship. There's so much emotion and so many rivalries and the travel and the intensity and right. It is just hard to do. They suck in World Cup qualifying. It could be UAE and Oman. Oman is solid. They, for some reason, like consecutive World Cup qualifyings have just taken points from Japan, like beating them. And UAE is basically Saudi Arabia, but worse. They're very disciplined, structured, tough to break down. They're not going to hand it to you. They're also not very good. Like, they don't have a high ceiling, but they have a high floor. And so if the other teams give it to them, the UAE will take it, and they have been to the World Cup once before. But I think Saudi Arabia is pretty good here. Indonesia kind of fell backwards into this. They are not playing their best ball. Iraq is definitely better than Indonesia, like neutral site, whatever. So I think it's Saudi Arabia and then Iraq. And if I have to make a pick, I'm going to go ahead. Dude, this group is wild. I have no idea. That's true. Oman shouldn't be there. Oh, I remember being upset. What happened? Oh, dude, it was that like last second penalty against Palestine. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, and it was a terrible call. Oh, I forgot. I forgot about that, dude. Oh, yeah, that sucked. That was really heartbreaking. That's how Oman ended up in this. Yeah, I'll go Qatar and then UAE. I'll go Qatar first, UAE second, which would give us an Iraq versus UAE playoff to go to the Intercontinental playoff. That would be fun. I would enjoy that. And then Saudi Arabia and Qatar would be going through. Two teams that expect to make the World Cup now. So but Asia's not playing right now. Oceania's already done, which brings us to Europe, which there are some matches going on right now. Or if those matches buttoned up. Are they still? They're still going. Greece is up 5-1. Croatia's only up 1-0 at Torsvaller, the national team stadium of the Faroe Islands. That's where they're playing, right? Yes, they're at Torsvaller. Oh, that's one of the coolest stadiums I've ever been to. That is a tough place to play, man. Croatia just getting it done right now. Scotland and Denmark are 0-0. Iceland's beating Azerbaijan. What is Azerbaijan doing? Italy's winning. Israel's killing Moldova. Czech Republic's winning at Montenegro. That's potentially dangerous. Sweden needs to get wins like this one against Slovenia. They're doing it. Switzerland's beating Kosovo 4-0. And France is winning on the road against Ukraine. Or I guess that'd be neutral site somewhere. That would be neutral site somewhere. So how's that affecting the table, man? Well, in these 4-team groups, dude, in these 4-team groups, there's only 6 matches. Iceland putting 5 on Azerbaijan is really going to flip the goal difference for them, too. All of a sudden, Iceland's going to present a real challenge for Ukraine. Because they're going to have a 5-0 is wicked work. Denmark and Scotland drawing is great for Greece, too, because they're getting that blowout win against Belarus to start everything. Yeah, in this group, Greece, Scotland, or Denmark, one of them is going to be really upset because one of them is going to finish in third. I don't think it'll be Denmark. Scotland being able to take a point off Denmark is good. Denmark are qualifying monsters. They suck at the actual tournament. Qualifying monsters, though. Yeah, Sweden winning at Slovenia basically turns this into a 2-team group, unless Slovenia can beat Switzerland at some point. Kosovo, I would have called them a dark horse before, but yeah. And obviously Germany lost yesterday, which normally so the change to European qualifying this year that is really dangerous, really interesting, is normally it was 8 matches or 10 that you got to play. When there's only 6 matches, blowing it against Slovakia resonates so much more because you have less time to recover from it. You know what I mean? They have less time to recover from this. They don't have a lot of time to recover from this. Some are playing 10. No, they're playing 8. But nobody's playing 10. There's groups of 5 and groups of 4. No, it's 6 and then 8. It used to be 8 and 10. But this is a 6 group. So Germany losing to Slovakia, they only have 5 matches left, which means if you have one of those weird games where like you're at Luxembourg and you have 30 shots but you can't score and it's 0-0, you could not make it. Like a group of 4 can get really, really tricky. Northern Ireland is, at their best, tough to break down. Slovakia just beat Germany by 2. Can we look at Norway? We're going to look at everybody. But we're just looking at these groups of 4 where like Germany is now, I still would pick Germany to finish first. It just got a lot harder. They made it a lot harder for themselves. They're going to get Slovakia at home. They got 2 matches against Luxembourg to hang up 6 points, right? They're going to be all right. Group C, I think, is the hardest. Group C is like Scotland, Greece, and Denmark. That is wicked. Now, any team drops points to Belarus, that team's probably out. Who's your underdog hopeful to get to the World Cup? I think Iceland has a legit chance. The way they're playing today against Azerbaijan, they'll have 5 matches left. If they can avoid a loss against Ukraine, they can get that second spot. We know how dangerous Iceland is with they're like a club team almost, with their understanding and their tactical acuity, right? They are a tough team to beat in a playoff setting. Yeah, Belarus is ass. They're not going to the World Cup. So shove that. I think my biggest dark horse is Curacao, right? We were just looking at that. I'm going to see if I can pull it up again. We were just looking at Curacao, but Curacao's route to the World Cup is basically winning a group with Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago, and Bermuda. They're good enough to do that. They are good enough to do that. Fully believe that, and that would make them the smallest nation to ever make the World Cup. I'm not on the New Caledonia train. They are going to the Intercontinental Ballistic Playoff, which could be a lot of fun. Right, so in Group E, you've got Spain and Turkey that delivered the wins. Very painful loss for Georgia, right? Georgia had an opportunity to finish second if they could get something off Turkey, but Turkey made the quarterfinal at the Euros. And, you know, they've got Arda Güler as like a talisman, but they got a good team around him too. Yeah, and Georgia would probably need all 6 points off Bulgaria, which will be tough to get. They're going to need to... It's tough. Georgia's definitely a better team than they have been, but the World Cup seems a bridge too far for them. Portugal, Armenia, Hungary, Ireland. If Portugal doesn't win this group, they should probably quit the sport and try basketball instead. Spain seems to be pretty good at it, so why not? Yeah, no, this group should be a cakewalk for Portugal. Ireland, not as good as they have been, obviously, and they were kind of hoping that what's his name? Evan Ferguson would lead an Irish revival. That hasn't necessarily happened. Maybe they can talk Grealish back into it. Hungary obviously have been dangerous at the last couple of major international tournaments. They do not usually show up in World Cup qualifying. Armenia had a pretty decent Nations League, but they're still ass. So I don't think they're going to be able to do anything. This is an open group for Portugal that they should be able to walk out of comfortably. They play Armenia first as well, so they can set the tone from the front with a big win. Gone. Is Curacao smaller than Indonesia? Okay. If you're talking population, which we were talking about population, Curacao is 140,000. Indonesia has about 240 million. So it's right there. Land size, Curacao is actually ridiculously small land-wise as well. Indonesia, obviously, relative to 240 million people, is incredibly small. But, yeah, Curacao, land-wise, I think would also be the smallest country to ever make it. Now, you talk about the Dutch East Indies. That is Curacao, Aruba, and Bonaire. And so I would not say that that's Curacao, no. Oh, Singapore. Singapore. Yeah, that makes more sense. That would be land-wise, obviously, because Singapore's population is still like a mil at least, a couple million, I think. Land-wise, I don't know which would be smaller. Yeah. I've been to Curacao. And I basically drove around the entire island and was like, damn, all of those baseball players and that soccer national team come from this. Obviously, they've got a diaspora in the Netherlands, right? So it's not entirely that. I mean, the baseball team comes from the island. And Curaçao's baseball team is good. The funny thing is they then represent the Netherlands. So if you're ever watching the World Baseball Classic, which I highly recommend you do, it's the Baseball World Cup. The Netherlands is always there, and they're good, but the Dutch people themselves actually have no idea what's going on. It's just a bunch of dudes from Curacao and Aruba, which is fun. Now let's go into the groups of 5, right? Do you think there are baseball players in the football national team? No. The Curacao national team's made up of, like, You can see they've got guys that play at high level. I don't like Curaçao's national team's pretty good. They got a dude in the Saudi League, Vinlo, FC20, Eloy Room, who he's been around for a long time. I've signed him in Football Manager before. Svole Valvik, Borat Banja Luka, who is in Europe. They were in European play. Rotherham, because dude in the top league of Turkey, Sparta Rotterdam, a couple more Turkey guys, Valvik, Den Bosch, Zurich, pretty good team in Switzerland. Sheffield United, that's Tahith Chong. You recognize that name, former United youth guy. Their forwards, I'm not quite picking. They got a dude in the Indonesian league, so that really ties it all together. Top Os, which I think is a second division team in the Netherlands. Yeah, they're missing out on the forwards, but the rest of the team's really sound and solid. Yeah. But they have Bacuna, Leandro Bacuna, who's been around. He was like the first good Curacao team. It was Bacuna that was the guy. But no, they're competent. They're a fully competent national team. I believe they could get their country to a World Cup. Predictions for Group F, like full predictions. I'll take Hungary in second. I think Portugal and Hungary end up pretty far ahead of Ireland and Armenia, to be honest. When's FM26 releasing? Tomorrow! No, I don't know. I have no idea. My guess would be early November. But I don't know. Ferguson's been going wild. I mean, how many games have they played? Like 3? Does he have like 4 goals or something? He has an assist and no goals in 2 matches. Give it some time for Evan. Give it some time for old Evan Ferguson. Oh, Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz are playing right now. Forgot about that. Real shame for Novak Djokovic. He's so unbelievably good and can beat every tennis player in the world still at the age of 38, except for 2 guys. What a shame. What a shame. What a shame. He's looked very sharp. He's been playing better than normal. I mean, good for him. But I don't think he's the guy that can like hard carry Ireland past Hungary. The Hungarians are scary. I sound like the Austrians. The Hungarians. Don't want to mess with those guys. Do you think Turkey can have a miracle and finish top? No. I don't. Against another team like Germany or Denmark or I guess Switzerland's the top seeded team in this group, absolutely. I would say yeah. But Spain's like the best team in the world. It want 2 or 3. So I don't think Turkey's got that kind of juice. You know, I don't. All right, this group, Netherlands did draw against Poland, but they beat Malta. They beat Finland. They've got Lithuania next. I think the Netherlands got to be feeling pretty good about this. Poland, they lost to Finland. Classic Poland. That keeps Finland alive, obviously, for the second place spot. But that's still taking shape. These teams, Malta's played 5. Huge. 2 draws against Lithuania, so they're soaring. Yeah, Bosnia and Herzegovina's off to a good start. Dude. Who's the 1 seed in this group? Austria? That's got to be the worst 1 seed, dude. What an opportunity for Bosnia and Romania, but Romania's already blown it, man. They lost to Bosnia and Austria. They've already blown the opportunity. Now it's just Bosnia and Austria that are going to be battling for first. Now, Bosnia and Herzegovina is good. I mean, they just beat San Marino. They've got San Marino again, too, so they can really build that confidence up. Just beat up San Marino twice. Nice. Yeah, I'll throw up the scores. Actually, gotta go pee. I'll be right back. Yo, Niger got a red. As if things weren't already going poorly. All right, one more zoom out. We should be able to keep all of the scores in one screen, see if anything crazy is happening down the stretch, like a Montenegro equalizer, a Faroe Islands equalizer, something like that. A winner in Scotland, Denmark would be very important. A goal against Ivory Coast by Burundi would be incredibly important. Whatever. I'm into the bathroom. I'll be right back. Slovenia! Oh, Slovenia! 2-2. Sweden's blown it. A massive goal for Slovenia. Sweden blows the lead on 2 separate occasions. Oh, that was so huge. I've got Swedish friends, so I feel bad for them. I know he's rolling over right now. That was huge. You can't. If they won at Slovenia, that would have been massive for putting pressure on Switzerland. Big goal for Italy? Yeah, I don't think so. But Slovenia making it 2-2 is very unfortunate for Swedish people. But the fighting Luka Doncic's have got it under control. All right, so Austria and Bosnia-Herzegovina are looking good. Cyprus, their clubs are doing really well, but they lost the 2 important matches against Bosnia-Herzegovina and Romania, so they're pretty much out too. Norway. Norway. Yeah, the Italians, at least they beat Moldova, who seems to be terrible right now. Estonia even beat them on the road 3-2 just to keep the faintest of faint dreams alive. Israel is getting the win. They lost to Norway. Norway's already played half of their World Cup qualifying matches, and they've won all 4 of them. So I think we might finally get to see Odegaard and Haaland at a major tournament. I'm kind of surprised it's taken them this long to get it figured out. The issue for Italy now is that they are going to have to play against Israel at some point. Estonia and Moldova have no chance to do anything against Italy. Israel does. Israel, with the guys like Manor Solomon, they are good enough to cause the Italians problems. And Italy obviously has missed consecutive World Cups. So losing in a bomba clap to Norway, that's going to turn up the pressure a lot. What's their first match? Is it at Israel? Because that could make it real difficult. Yeah, it is. It is. So after this match, they go on the road against Israel. If they don't win that, they have to be perfect. If they don't win that match at Israel, which is not going to be super easy for them, especially considering the pressure on everything, they've used up their goodwill by getting destroyed by Norway. They're sitting at a negative goal difference right now, even though they beat Moldova 2-0. I don't know. I don't know. Italy looks like they could be in trouble again. Obviously, losing 3-0 was a good first sign. But the way Norway has come out of the gate and just handled all of their business since then, I don't know, 1-0 against Estonia is kind of sketchy. But Norway's got Moldova next. That's their second match against Moldova. So Norway's going to have 5 matches, 5 wins at home against Moldova. Should be a cakewalk. Like, they're throwing down the pressure. And also what I just noticed, I love whoever scheduled this. The final match of qualifying in November is Italy at home against Norway. Oh, that is cinema, dude. Assuming Italy still has a chance, at that point, that's the cinema moment. Italy at home against Norway is the final match of this group. And if nobody trips up the rest of the time, that could be what decides it. Now we go to Group J, where Belgium is the favorite. Keep in mind, they've only played 3 matches. Wales has played 5. They lost to Belgium and drew North Macedonia. North Macedonia drew Belgium and Wales, which means if they are able to win their next match against Liechtenstein, they will jump into first. But this is looking, I'm going to say to me, like it's going to be a battle for second. I wouldn't imagine Belgium's going to come up lame against North Macedonia and Wales. Very impressed by how good North Macedonia has been. I don't think any of these teams are playing right now. Wales' next match is at home against Belgium. If Wales can get something from that, Belgium's on watch. If Belgium can go win in Wales, it's Wales v. North Macedonia for second place. That's it. So the match is, are there any other goals, or all the matches just locked? Czech Republic pulled away at the end. France got a goal from Mbappe, I think it was. Croatia holds on for the 1-0 win in the Faroe Islands. That is, I would say this is way more of a win for Scotland than Denmark. That is way more of a win for Scotland than Denmark, to go on the road, Copenhagen, and get a point, 0-0. That, I'm happy if I'm a Scotland fan. I am nervous if I'm a Danish fan. That's where I'm at there. Speaking of nerves, Ivory Coast still nervous. Only up 1-0 against Burundi. Got to hang on to that score. They are in trouble if they don't. Senegal's got breathing room on Sudan. They're up 2-0. They could not lose that match. They would have been in serious trouble. Egypt's keeping itself comfortable with this result. Mauritania showing signs of life. Morocco winning the match that it should be winning. So not a surprise there. Switzerland jumps to first in their group with a convincing win. Look, Scotland is not a team that is going to beat the Denmarks of the world playing beautiful football. The sooner that you appreciate that, if you're Scottish, right, that the way Scotland's going to be able to get good results is by making it ugly. There's plenty of teams like that. Hungary's been doing that for a while, right? Go out there, make it ugly, and you got a chance to win. But Scotland doesn't have the talent to play with Denmark. It's Scott McTominay and Inshallah. That's a great result for Scotland. Like, Scotland is now very much in the race here. Let's see if the scores are updating. Yes, they've updated. Like, Scotland's totally in the race here. You get your 6 points from Belarus. You scrap some home wins against Greece or Denmark or both, right? You can get that top 2 spot. You're right there. Yeah, go out there, take care of your business. Also, stop the count. Somebody stop the count. Iceland's in the automatic spot above France. Stop the count. Next match is France at home against Iceland, so we need to stop the count right now. Derek! Yeah, baby! Thanks for the 62 months. Appreciate you supporting the stream, brother. They do have a chance. Ireland's group is gettable. I didn't pick them, but the group is gettable. All you have to do is be better than Hungary. Clarky, thank you for the 6 months, dude. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the stream, brother. Emergency. Oh. Hey, shout out to the Zealand Live channel. I just got a notification that we hit 500 concurrent live viewers on YouTube, which means Twitch. Say hi to YouTube. They can see you on the screen. Say hi. Say hi to YouTube. You can't see them, but they can see you. We gotta be polite. Don't say no. Have manners. Have manners. You guys on Twitch, you're on the stream and everything. Just wave hi. They always say hi to you guys in the comments. Especially on like series and under the videos, they always say hi back. They're very polite. Anyways, Group K. England, Albania, Serbia, Latvia, Andorra. England, probably fine. England is one of the best qualifying nations. They literally never have a problem in qualifying. Serbia, I would imagine, is the team that's supposed to finish second out of here. This is a pretty watered-down group, honestly. Albania is going to be looking at this like they have a chance. They did get a draw against Serbia in kind of a disappointing match. I expected at least 8 red cards in Serbia-Albania, but whatever. Serbia's at Latvia. I would imagine that's tomorrow. You reckon Sri Lanka is going to qualify? Bro, they got knocked out of World Cup qualifying like 2 years ago. Keep up. Keep up. Lock in. Leisure Wave, thank you for the 16 months also with the Prime, brother. Tingus Pingus, I ain't even heard of Latavia. Yeah, no, Latvia's out. They played 3 matches. They did beat Andorra. They got a draw again. I guess they're not out. They're kind of alive. If they can get like a win at home against Serbia, just one of the like a crazy result, Latvia is alive for the World Cup. That would be wild. But I mean, mathematically, they're kind of doing what they need to do. They got a draw against a better team. They beat the team they're supposed to beat, which is Andorra. World Cup contenders, no BS. France, Spain, Argentina, Japan, the United States. No, I'm just kidding. Probably England. I would put them in the same category as Brazil, like a puncher's chance. Definitely just a puncher's chance of being able to win it. I would put Portugal in that category as well. The Netherlands, I don't know if I think I would put them behind Japan. Croatia's still really good, but I don't think they can win it. If Japan win the World Cup, I'll eat my own butt out. Dude, you'd probably need to remove all of your ribs for that. Anybody that tells you Japan isn't at least a second-tier potential World Cup winner just doesn't know ball. Japan should have beaten Belgium at the 2018 World Cup. They fumbled that so massively. In 2022, they were again the better team, lost in a penalty shootout in the round of 16. Since then, they've only gotten better, and they ran through Asian qualifying in a way that nobody has ever really run through Asian qualifying before. They murdered everybody they played. Japan is a nation of like 100 million people that has a really intense sporting culture, and they have been playing football for like 35 years, give or take. Bro, shut up. If you make a list, we did this. If you make a list of the top 10 teams that can win the World Cup, Japan has to be on, Japan has to be on it. They have to be on it. Like, Japan is legitimately only at a professional football league since 1991, I think. Oh, not you. Some guy was spamming. Oh, all good. All good. My B. I misread. I think we are living in a real there's a real possibility that Japan could be the first non-South American or European winner. I think that the only teams that had a better chance were Ghana 2010 and maybe Ivory Coast around the same time. I think the talent level of those two teams was higher, but Japan's talent level is quite high. There are a lot of top 5 league Japanese players with a lot of playing time. Give us the 10. We made this list a long time ago, like the top 10 nations that are capable of winning this World Cup. And it's like Spain, France on drop, Spain, France, Argentina, just 1, 2, 3 in any order you want. Those are the 3 teams that you're like, all right, yeah. Then you've got your next tier, which is like teams that have ridiculous amount of talent but suck, which is England, Portugal, Brazil, right? Italy, technically, but they might not even make it, right? They're in serious danger of not making it. Germany, right? There's that tier. And like, where do you want to put those teams? Then there's the teams that are really, really good, but they lack that special something. That's where I put a team like the Netherlands. I'd put a team like the Netherlands in there. I'd put a team like Belgium in there. I'd probably put Croatia in there as well. But if you're looking at a team that can beat those teams, like, who am I going to pick? If I get Croatia and Japan at this next World Cup, I'm going to pick Japan, right? I think South America does not give you another team this time around that can win it. I don't think Uruguay has that. I don't think Colombia or Ecuador has that. Denmark has a... I don't see it. Denmark, to me, is like Chile when they were winning those Copa Americas, where it's like quarterfinal max for me. They just, if you put them on the biggest stage against the best teams, I don't think they can do it. No, here's the issue. The reason I'm thinking Japan can do it is because that team plays exceptional ball. They kill everyone they play. Right? Everyone. They're just mowing down. The United States is the exact opposite. I'm not delusional here, right? The reason that I'm saying Japan is a top 10 team to win a World Cup is because they play really well. The United States does not play well. Neither does Brazil, right? The U.S. team does not play well together. They don't have a good system. They're not getting good results. Maybe we can figure it out at a home World Cup, but Zealand's a weeb confirmed. You got me. You got me. You got me. Yeah, look, Japan is the best non-South American or European team since 2010 Ghana. There has not been a better team from CONCACAF, from Asia, or from Africa since 2010 Ghana. Morocco got great results. I think 2010 Ghana was better. I think this current Japan is better than the Moroccan team that made the semifinal. Uruguay is from South America, so they don't count. They play well in Asia. No, I mean Japan beat Spain and Germany, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or no, they beat Spain and Costa Rica at the last World Cup. Who'd they beat? Their team is better now than it was. They beat Germany and Spain, right? Yeah. And they lost to Costa Rica. No, somebody lost. Who lost to Costa Rica? They didn't lose. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. At the last World Cup, Japan beat Germany and Spain. So let's not pretend. Let's not pretend that Japan can't beat those teams. Is that relevant now? Yeah. A lot of the same guys are on the team now that were on that team a couple years ago. Japan did not beat Germany. It was Korea. Wrong. That was 2 World Cups ago. Japan was in their World Cup group with Spain, Germany, Japan, Costa Rica. And there was like a beautiful 4-minute window where Spain and Germany were getting knocked out and Costa Rica and Japan were going through. And then Germany boat raced Costa Rica to get, like, retake the lead. I'm just saying, you were like, well, the results in Asia don't matter. I think if you murder everyone you play, that does matter. Because teams like Saudi Arabia, teams like Australia that made the knockouts at the last World Cup, Saudi Arabia who beat Argentina at the last World Cup, right? Teams like South Korea did not murder the teams that they were playing, where Japan did. I still think that's relevant. And you add that in with the fact that Japan has been to back-to-back World Cup knockouts, that Japan has outplayed or matched the level of very high-level teams at the last couple World Cups, should have beaten a Belgian team that made the semifinal, lost in that penalty shootout to, I think it was Croatia, after beating Spain and Germany in the group stage, right? I think the number one reason you look at Japan and you go, no, the number one reason is because the name says Japan. Well, obviously, Connor, now I would pick Spain over Japan. I'm not saying Japan is better. I'm putting Spain, France, and Argentina are in their own category at the top that Japan is not in. Right? But if you're making a list of teams that could, I think Japan could. How tall are the Japanese defenders now? I mean, the Japanese national team is not chronically short. That is really only a relevant thing for like Central American countries and Southeast Asian countries. The Japanese national team is not chronically short. They have like normal sized, but they don't have, 6'6" center backs, but they have normal sized guys that can totally play the position, right? They don't know about Maya Yoshida. Maya Yoshida's not playing with him anymore. Last World Cup was his last one. But Maya Yoshida was a Premier League center back, yes, who was on the Japanese team at the last one. Thoughts in South Africa currently? I mean, South Africa's going to go right now. South Africa's sprinting away from Nigeria. They're totally going to take the top spot. Germany's bad? Yeah, they are bad. Yeah, I mean, the memes about Japan being short, like, is the average Japanese person shorter than the average Dutch person? Like, statistically, yeah. But if you're talking about the world-class athletes that come from those countries, there's 100 million people in Japan. There's going to be a few dudes that are 6'3" that play center back and goalkeeper. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to be, the whole team's 5'8", That's just not how that ends up working. Yeah, if you walked next to the Japanese national team, you wouldn't be like, damn, them boys are short. You'd be like, oh, those are world-class athletes. Yeah, not to mention, Japan also has the best baseball player in the world right now, so Japanese athletics are on the up and up. Shohei Ohtani is also a huge dude. How tall is Shohei Ohtani? Shohei Ohtani is a big guy. Yeah, he's 6'4". That's 1.92, 1.93, 1.94, something like that. What do you think of Finland's chances of qualifying? Finland got that weird good result. Who'd they beat? They beat Poland. That helps. But drawing Lithuania does not. So you need to figure out what team you are. The one that draws Lithuania or the one that beats Poland? If you're the one that beats Poland, you obviously can get second. And if you can get second, you can get through the playoff. Yeah, it's true. Argentina's short as hell. Nobody talks about that. I think Argentina's national team's shorter than Japan's, man. Yeah, but I mean, there are a few countries that are affected by the fact that they're like, just ethnically speaking, the people from that country are not very tall. Central America, this happens a lot, like Guatemala, Nicaragua. It's a very, very short part of the world. And then Southeast Asia also struggles with this, where sometimes you'll see like a 5'9" goalkeeper or whatever. There just aren't a lot of tall guys from those countries. But yeah, Japan, South Korea, like full first world countries with first world diets and everything, you're really not going to run into that. Then you have the Netherlands fielding Hagrid. Yeah, I mean, the Dutch are the tallest people in the world, I'm pretty sure. Like by country average height. Obviously, there's like the tribe in Sudan where all these 7-foot people come from that play in the NBA, but the entire country isn't that tall. It's just that one tribe. So I don't really know how that ended up happening. It's the windmills. True. The Dutch people had to be really tall just to install the windmills. What's crazy to me is that the Netherlands and Belgium, and I'm going to piss some people off here, but I mean, there are states in the U.S. that are farther apart than those. Like, those two countries are, you know, they fit inside New York State, right? Georgia, the state. How are their heights so different? Belgium's short. And Netherlands is tall. I don't understand what happened there. It's the chocolate. We stole all the food from the Belgians. So those damn Dutch again taking all our bread, bro. The Netherlands took all the tall people in the Great Height War. Why is qualifying in Europe so out of sync? So if you have a group of 5 teams, you can't have them all play at the same time, right? Because let's say these two teams play, well, then this team's not playing anybody. So the reason that qualifying is out of sync is just because the way you have to do the scheduling in 5-team groups. That's why it looks a little weird. And then, of course, these groups had to start earlier because they need more windows to play all of their matches, where the groups of 4 teams don't need nearly as many windows, and so they can start later. Well, the Nations League might have determined who goes into what group, but I guess it could have affected who played a little bit. But if it determined who went into the 4-team groups, then the 4-team groups just started playing. The final group is a fun one. Croatia's the top-seeded team. They've won all 3 of their matches. Good for them. Czech Republic has played 5 matches, and despite losing to Croatia, they're basically doing... Look, I wanted to give Faroe Islands a chance that wasn't realistic. Montenegro isn't that good, but maybe they had a shot. This is a very easy group for Croatia and Czechia. As long as Croatia avoids defeat in their second match with Czechia, it should be Croatia and then Czechia in the second place spot trying to get to the World Cup, with Croatia automatically going. That's what we're looking at in that section. What's the Swiss model? I forget. Isn't that what they use in the Champions League? Would the Swiss model work for the World Cup? Nah. I like World Cup groups. The Swiss model is what the Champions League uses. You just put 48 teams in a giant league stage and draw teams from pots. I don't like that. I like the groups for the World Cup because it creates this... like, each group is playing on one day sort of thing. Europe need a different system. Yeah, I think Europe just does it weird. Europe does its World Cup qualifying super weird, where like Africa does this too now, where every team is in the same group, but Africa is divisible by the same number. So every group is 6 teams. South America obviously only has 10 teams, so they do the one group. But Asia does, rounds. They have your first round. You've got your second round. You've got your third round. You got your fourth round. Oceania does rounds. right? They've got, let's eliminate the bad teams. Then we got group stage. Then we go in here. CONCACAF does rounds, right? Let's put San Marino against Gibraltar over here and then introduce all of the teams in these different groups. And then we'll refine the teams down to like the really intense, 3 or 4 team qualifying groups right here at the end. Because now we've refined, like there is no England against Andorra, right? Now you've got 3 groups of 4. All of these teams, except for Bermuda, because they somehow snuck in here, have a snowball's chance in hell of being able to beat the team they're playing against. And that's cooler. Like imagine if you went into European qualifying, right? And you had kind of a preliminary round. Like let's say this was the preliminary round, but then top 3 make it out of these groups. Top 3 make it out of these groups. Right? And then we go down and we draw these groups of 3 that are really intense. That would be great. And you get rid of your Kazakhstans, your Liechtensteins, your Andorras. They would still get the opportunity to play matches, but yeah, I mean they do have a qualifying playoff, but it's like convoluted with the Nations League thing. League system is, I don't know. Europe just has a ton of teams, and I feel like since the number of teams is not divisible, I mean it could be. Europe just has to add Greenland. I don't know. The Basque region, just start adding teams. Or what you could do is like all of these groups that are 5-team groups, take the worst. This is kind of what Asia does. Take Lithuania, Malta, Cyprus, San Marino, Estonia, Moldova, Kazakhstan, Liechtenstein, Latvia, Andorra, Faroe Islands, and Gibraltar. Put them in group stages that start earlier. Play it out, and then those teams qualify into these groups, and so every group is 4. And then every group is 4. You don't have to deal with these 5-team groups anymore. You give these teams an opportunity to play more competitive matches, right? Hey, Flinny, thank you for the gifted subs, brother. Yeah, I guess we should check the Africa scores. Nothing changed. Egypt delivered the win. Ivory Coast hung on to the win. Flinny, thank you so much for making 5 People's Days, though, giving 5 people the ad-free experience. Really appreciate it, brother. Rocket Dog, thank you for the 6 months. Kane, thank you for the 67 months. You said I'm looking handsome. You're looking handsome. Kay, thank you for the 51 months as well. Thanks for supporting the stream, brother. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying, I think that Europe should adopt the Asian style where maybe you play, I don't know, how many teams is that? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I mean, if it's 6 groups, that's 12 teams that would need to go into the qualifying. That is, yeah, I mean, just do groups of 4. 3 groups of 4, and if you finish top 2 in the group, but win? Bro, Asia started its World Cup qualifying 3 years ago. There is a 4-year window to figure this out. There's already Nations League. There's time. It's 6 matches that you need to do over 3 years. It's 6 matches over 3 years in order to reduce these 5-team groups to 4-team groups. You just take the worst 12 teams in Europe, put them in 3 groups of 4, top 2 teams go through. Now you have a divisible number for Europe where every qualifying group can be 4 teams because these 4-team groups are interesting. There isn't a terrible team in these groups. Luxembourg is competitive, right? Kosovo is competitive on paper. Belarus is not. Maybe they should be in the 12-team playoff. You know, like Bulgaria, Armenia. Armenia is Nations League B, right? Like these teams are able to compete. And if you're in a 4-team group with only 6 matches, it is interesting. It's exciting. We're also reducing the number of matches played for the big teams. So these teams need to play 8 in qualifying. Now that would be reduced to 6. Right? The only teams that would have these extra games, which they need anyways to develop, would be the 12 worst teams in Europe that would go to this round robin. What if Russia rejoins? Make it 13, bro. I don't know. Have a playoff between the 2 worst teams. I'm solving the problem in front of me right now. Do. Netherlands versus Malta isn't a good use of time. I mean, it is if Malta earns the right to be there. So Russia's good. Well, I'm not saying Russia would be in the playoff. I'm just saying that would change the math slightly, right? There would then be 13 teams. Won't work with Euro quals. I mean, look, dude, it's not like they don't qualify for the Asian Cup, play the Asian Cup, hold their rounds of qualifying in Asia. Like, it is possible, okay? CONCACAF does it. Asia does it. Africa's done it in the past. They actually don't need to anymore because the number of teams that go through Africa just changed its qualifying, but they used to have a playoff to get in. Russia have left UEFA? Yeah, I know. I'm just like, at some point in the future, Russia's going to be involved in something again, right? Nothing ever stays the same. Imagine NBA with promotion and relegation. I mean, it doesn't even start to be interesting because there just is nothing to be promoted and relegated from. I'm just saying, like, if you had 3 years basically to play 6 matches, then do it. Nothing ever stays the same. Cries in conference football. Oh, conference realignment. Oh, I hated that. Now, that's my solution to European qualifying so that we can end up with a bunch of groups of 4 for qualifying, because I think that's really fun and exciting. Now, I mean, you know, you obviously can disagree with that. My other solution to qualifying is that I think the entire I think the entirety of the New World should be in the same qualifying. I don't think CONCACAF. I think CONCACAF and in South America should combine just for World Cup qualifying. I think Copa America and Gold Cup are good fun. I think Caribbean Cup and that sort of stuff is good fun. I just think that having a qualifying cycle where 6.5 teams out of 10 make it just rewards not getting good results in some ways, while teams like Canada, the U.S., Mexico, to a lesser extent Jamaica and Costa Rica would really benefit from the experience of competing against Paraguay, Colombia, Ecuador. And I think you just go, if you folded that in, it would be like 10 or 11 qualifying spots from that region. I say Europe should do the same as South America. Just put every country in the group and everybody plays everybody home and away. Now, there is not enough time for that. V Marquez, thank you for the prime, dude. And Juicebox Maven, thank you for the 3 years supporting the stream, brother. I appreciate you. Just make the World Cup bigger. I think 48's a really good size. They'll probably eventually try to go to 64, which is too much. I think 48 is good. I think it should stay at 48. Part of UEFA's solution should be shipping Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan to Asia. Can't, though. I mean, they are technically on the European continent, which is like what they used to make that decision. And plus, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think some of the best parts about qualifying is when, like, you know, the United States is playing against Haiti, right? And Jordan is playing against South Korea, right? And Libya is playing against Central African Republic. Like, even though you're from the same continent, you've got these very different cultures in the same continent. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only country that like is in a in a qualifying area that doesn't have any land in that area is Israel. I'm not sure if that's true. But Israel's in Europe as a solution FIFA came up with to the problem that like Asian countries just didn't play them. So Israel did win an Asian Cup, but it's because most of the teams they played against forfeited, except for like Indonesia and South Korea. So Australia, I guess, yeah. Australia, you're right. Australia's the other one. And that was more of like that just like made sense logically that they shouldn't be in Oceania because they're bigger than the rest of the continent combined by population, which is just unfair. But Israel moved to UEFA because that was FIFA's like détente solution. And then Australia moved to Asia because that just made sense and allowed like them to get better competition, Oceania to actually try to develop teams instead of them all getting murdered by Australia. And you said Cyprus? I guess Cyprus has no land area in the European continent by like the definition. But it's also kind of in the northeastern part of the Mediterranean. So I get it. The moment. You say Armenia. I mean, the Caucasus are interesting, right? The Caucasus are really interesting. That's Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, which are all in Europe, right? So Azerbaijan's the farthest east one, right? But I think the reason that they're able to be in Europe is because they're west of the Urals and north of this mountain range, right? But Armenia's not. So I don't really know how Armenia is in Europe. I'd love to know the story behind that. Because Georgia's got some land on this mountain range, like Azerbaijan's there. Armenia does not. Turkey obviously has like piece of Europe. Yeah, I don't think Armenia is geographically European, just looking at this. Isn't it the Soviet Union's fault for these countries being in? Maybe. But like Kazakhstan's very clearly got a piece that is west of the Urals in it. And that's where the line is drawn between like Europe and Asia up here. And so I get that. I do get that. Yeah, but Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan are below this mountain range. So if you're like making Europe, it'd be like that. And Kazakhstan has a piece that's west of it. Yeah, if I was Kazakhstan, I would consider Asia because they can be in both. Obviously, all of these countries can be in both because they have land in Asia as well. Armenia, I don't think has any land on the geographic European continent. So, but yeah, I think like Kazakhstan, if they were qualifying out of Europe, they would have a chance. You know what I mean? I don't know how much of a chance they have out of Europe, but you get more money being in Europe, so. Anatolia was historically considered Asia. Or, wait, yeah. It's called Asia Minor. So, but I mean, Turkey owns like this, which is on the other side of the strait. So, there's no question that Turkey is a European country. Turkey should not. No, Turkey. I don't think Turkey should be in Asia, bro. I don't think Turkey should be in Asia. I think, honestly, the only reason people think Turkey should be in Asia is because people, like, let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. People look at predominantly Muslim countries and don't believe that they are European. Like, that's just the reason. When they really are. Like, there's been a lot of Islam in Europe throughout the course of history. I mean, hello, Iberia, right? Hello, Sicily. Hello, Albania, right? It's just like Turkey, people, like European people, other Turkey, where if you look at history, and this is the wrong person to have this conversation with, because I got a degree in history, right? And my concentration in historical, like, I wrote my final paper, like my book paper on the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire is so European, it's gross, right? Like the origin of Turkey, and what, at least the origin that like modern Turkish people attach themselves to, which is the Ottoman Empire, is an empire that literally was up here, right? Up to the gates of Vienna, ruled Budapest and Belgrade. I had a great line from one of my professors one time, because Ottoman Empire was always referred to as the sick man of Europe. I was like, man, I wish I could be dying for 400 years. Like, I can't remember how he said it, but it was so good. It was like, they weren't really sick the whole time. They studied history, not words. What did I say wrong? Thesis. Yeah, my final like paper for my history degree was on how methods of communication affected the expansion of the Ottoman Empire. So, riveting stuff. Dude, honestly, there should be a separate World Cup qualifying from here to here. We can solve this. Take all the Caucasus teams, take Kazakhstan, take everybody down here except for Israel, because you can't, right? And then take all these guys over to Myanmar and just new qualifying area. Right? Because it's already ridiculous that, like, where are they? That Guam has to go on the road against Lebanon to play World Cup qualifying. A Middle Eastern FA. Yeah, exactly. Just chop this off right in here. Just Georgia, cut Turkey out. Over here, all this nonsense. Down here, come over here, come up Bhutan, and then just bring it back. Cut China out, obviously. Give them 2 World Cup qualifying spots, fight to the death. No, Guam is not Oceania. So I've actually learned this. There is a very interesting argument that occurs where people in Oceania don't like each other. Unsurprising. This is how it works everywhere in the every world. Like, we need these guys in one area and these guys in another area, basically. There are 3 types of people in Oceania. I learned this all because we were with the Marshall Islands national team. There are Micronesians who live up here. Okay. There are Melanesians who live over here. And then there are Polynesians who live over here. Okay. Now, Polynesians, that's rugby, right? Melanesians are kind of like Aboriginal New Guinea type, like people culturally, visually. Micronesians, whole different thing. They're quite small, actually. Very, like, small, very culturally different. And so the Micronesians are like not allowed in Oceania. So like the Oceania is Melanesians and Polynesians, and they don't really like the Micronesians. And so like Guam and Northern Mariana are in AFC. And I think Palau is also in AFC, but like Northern Mariana and Palau don't play. They're not in FIFA. They're just in AFC. So they do like Asian Cup qualifying, but they don't do World Cup qualifying. And then Marshall Islands and I think Micronesia is also in AFC. Marshall Islands is applied to Oceania, but Oceania, again, does not like them. So it is unlikely they will get in. So they're exploring potentially AFC, but they're so far out in the ocean that they might not do that. They tried CONCACAF, but CONCACAF said no. Tough. But yeah, there's your Oceania lore. So Oceania is really just the Melanesians and the Polynesians, and the Micronesians have to fend for themselves and like be an AFC, basically. Yeah, we need a Melanesian, we need a Micronesian qualifying section. One team to the Intercontinental Playoff. Palau isn't any. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure on Palau. I know Northern Mariana's there. I know Guam is in FIFA. And they like go through World Cup qualifying and Asian qualifying. They're actually pretty competitive, you know, for their size and everything. They do pretty well. But yeah, I think that would solve it. We just need a Central Asian qualifying section that goes over to Myanmar and then down to Syria and Lebanon and stuff. And then that could give Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia a chance to play. Kazakhstan, right? But that'll never happen. It is what it is now, and nobody's really changing, so. They get a playoff to get in the playoff? Yeah. I mean, there's only a few Micronesian countries. There's basically Kiribati, Marshall Islands. I don't know if Nauru is Melanesian or Micronesian. I actually have no idea. Then obviously Micronesia, Guam, Northern Mariana, Palau. Yeah. Maybe China and India could qualify for a World Cup. Yeah. Well, I mean, no. India did qualify for a India did qualify for, what am I trying to think of? Oh, Asian Cup. If you can qualify for the Asian Cup, then you do at least have a chance at World Cup qualifying, but they did not do well this round. But don't say never for India. They did qualify for an Asian Cup. And if India ever does make it to the World Cup, the explosion of football in India is going to be insane. Because there's a lot of huge football fans in India, but they just don't believe in their like ability to handle it. Apparently, Morocco's already officially qualified for the World Cup. I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out because their group is such a mess with Eritrea not playing and Congo being suspended. Yeah, I think they actually have. If this is what it looks like and no other matches are going to be played, then that means they have 8 matches. They've played 6 of them and they're 8 points clear. So Morocco has qualified for the World Cup. Nice. Now, you know what India needs to do? You know what every South Asian country needs to do? They need to open up their citizenship. Like footballing exceptions or something. Because the reason that the Indian national team doesn't pull anybody from the British leagues is because you have to give up your UK citizenship to play for the Indian national team, which is ridiculous. Right? You can't be a dual national. And so, like, obviously, India would be able to pick up dudes that play like lower league football in England, or maybe somebody from a Premier League academy or something. There is a guy in the top Scottish league that talked about this openly. He was like, I would play for India but I would have to give up my UK citizenship. And with the state of the world right now, I don't want to do that. Right? Bangladesh is taking, what's his name? Chowdhury. He was on Leicester. He is going to start playing for Bangladesh, which instantly makes their national team so much better. Yeah, the Indian FA or whoever is in charge of that needs to allow dual nationals, because not even just the UK. There's a ton of Indian dudes in the US that are playing college soccer or whatever that could totally help with the national team, right? You could call them up. Use your diaspora. Right? That's what Morocco's doing to devastating effect. I mean, obviously, like, their number one sport is cricket, but there are a ton of football fans in India. Yeah, Hamza Chowdhury has declared for Bangladesh. He has. I mean, Pakistan could do the same thing, but to be honest, the difference between Pakistan and India's national team is actually massive. India made the Asian Cup, and Pakistan is so far away from being able to make it to the Asian Cup, it's not even funny. Why'd I get an ad even though I'm subbed? I don't know. Check your sub. Oh, because your sub expired. Coles, thank you for the 22 months, dude. I appreciate you supporting the stream. India need one great footballer and it will explode. Exactly. And that one great footballer could be a guy that was born in the UK or in the United States. Like, if you have a guy that is Indian and plays at that level, yeah, but I mean, like, the thing for India, right, that I think is really overlooked is everybody has pride in where they grew up. Even if where you grew up is really messed up, you're either proud of the people, whatever, right? In places that have a ton of people, like China, Western Europe, the United States, a place like Brazil, right? You see a ton of representation of that, like, of your country if you're from there, right? If I turn on the Olympics, there's an American, right? If I'm from, Western European country, whatever, even like in Egypt, right? 100 million, Mexico. You turn on the Olympics, there's going to be kind of some of India's Olympic program is terrible. India's national soccer team is terrible. The only time they see themselves represented at all in a competitive world is in the kind of closeted world of cricket, where there's most of the world's not paying attention. If India makes a World Cup, if they have a player in the Premier League who is Indian, that is the first time that they're really involved in a global sporting event and represented. Field hockey doesn't count, right? I mean, the majority of the world doesn't play cricket. There are more nations that play baseball at the World Baseball Classic. Now, India, I do believe, has an amazing sporting culture and this kind of intense, sort of thing. When they make it to a World Cup, and they will at some point. They've already made it to an Asian Cup. They're getting better. When they do, there will be an intense explosion of, like, national pride and development of players in the game. Like, no one watches the NFL. Yeah, but I'm not trying to use the NFL to say that's giving the United States representation in, like, cricket's more popular than baseball. Numerically, that's probably true because South Asia is like 40% of the entire world. So that is definitely true. I would say more countries play baseball at a high level than cricket. More countries have baseball in their top 2 to 3 sports than cricket. That would be my counter argument. But in terms of people that watch it, cricket definitely wins because Pakistan, India, Bangladesh is like over 2 billion people. What's this guy? Yeah, I don't know. Somehow we've ended up in a conversation of what's more popular, baseball and cricket. Or like what... I believe what I said that started the conversation was more countries play baseball at a high level than cricket. Then population-wise, somebody raised the population question. There's definitely more people that watch cricket regularly than watch baseball regularly just because this part of the world right here has so many people in it. Baseball's only popular in the United States. That is not true at all. The country where baseball is the most popular is actually Japan. It's actually Japan. Baseball is more popular by person-to-person basis in Japan than it is in the United States. Japan is nuts with baseball. Nuts. The reason baseball is really slept on, particularly with this chat, because let's be honest, over 50% of the people in this chat are from Europe or South America, right? Where in South America, there's only 2 countries that play baseball, Colombia and Venezuela. You're probably not from there. Then there's Central America. Then there's the Caribbean, both of which love baseball. And then there's East Asia, which would be South Korea, Japan, Taiwan. Australia also plays some baseball. I don't know why, but they do. They have a couple players in Major League Baseball, and they send a team to the World Baseball Classic thing. So, baseball, South Africa also has a team. Baseball has a stronghold on the Western Hemisphere. It has a stronghold in East Asia. It does not have any hold in Europe or Africa or West Asia or Central Asia. The Caribbean loves cricket. This is, what I'm about to say is 100% true, and I'm sorry if it angers you. There are far more baseball players than cricket players in the Caribbean, and it is not close. And the reason for that is the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and Puerto Rico have way more population than the area of the Caribbean that plays cricket. The Caribbean loves cricket, but it's the British former colonies in the Caribbean that love cricket. And they're obviously, like, the West Indies team is very competitive in cricket, and I know that, and I love that. I think it's awesome, right? And if you go to the British Virgin Islands, if you go to Anguilla or Antigua and Barbuda, if you go to, I think, Turks and Caicos as well, right? You're going to have cricket fields. You're going to have guys playing cricket. But Curacao, Aruba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, it's baseball. Well, most of these aren't countries, like the British Virgin Island. Then you get into the definition of country. Basically, the argument that I made is annoying to solve. It's very annoying to try to solve. Because, like, what is a country, right? Montserrat's not technically a country, right? But Dominica is. Dominica is a country. So it was one of those things. Yeah, but baseball is very popular in the Caribbean. And cricket is also very popular in the Caribbean. You either follow baseball from U.S. power or cricket from British power. That is true. That is, yeah, basically you either follow baseball because of U.S. power projection or you follow cricket because of British power projection. The British just happened to stumble into the most populated corner of the entire world. Yeah, I know. Look, obviously now in the modern world, the U.S. beat Pakistan at the T20 Cricket World Cup. So the U.S. does play cricket, and the U.K. does have a team that goes to the World Baseball Classic. I don't know how they qualified, but they actually beat somebody at the World Baseball Classic. I can't remember, like, where. Yeah, Philippines plays baseball too. Except I don't remember them, like, making it to stuff. But I know they have a few players in Major League Baseball, at least like Philippine descendant people. Right. Anybody actually follow baseball? Baseball is a sport at a different pace. I don't really know the pace of cricket. I know that the games can take a while depending on what type of cricket you're playing. But in terms of a baseball season, it's more of like a daily thing than the game being a huge event. Like some games, if you're playing your big rival, can be a huge event. But normally baseball is like you check the score every day, or you throw the game on in the background every day, or maybe you've got tickets, you go to a couple of games on the weekend, right? Right. But it's more of a daily thing through the entire summer. Playoff baseball is great. Yeah, I usually, the only full baseball games I watch anymore will be like playoff baseball. You don't have to make plans. And like a football match, you kind of lock in for the full 90 minutes, right? Where baseball, you throw it on and you kind of wait for the crack of the bat. And you're like, oh, ah. I love taking specifically my British friends to their first baseball game, and you just get a beer and a hot dog and you just talk, just hang out. Like, oh, Ohtani's up, and then he's out, and you keep going. Am I following Alcaraz Djokovic? Not as closely as I should be. Bro, I'm so sad for Djokovic. He really can't beat either of these guys. He's down 2 sets and 5-2 to Alcaraz. Like, Djokovic can beat everybody in the world very convincingly. He literally beat the number 4 player in the world convincingly in Taylor Fritz. He cannot even really threaten Alcaraz or Sinner anymore. Yeah, watch Auger Aliassime just beat Sinner. That would be insane. I don't think it's going to happen. I used to like Auger Aliassime. I think he took Nadal to 5 sets at the French one time, and he looked like one of those up-and-coming guys that could really be dangerous, and then he just disappeared. Yeah, the old triumvirate is dead. I mean, Djokovic is 38. I don't think it's his fault. He just can't anymore. Yeah, and another way people follow baseball is you score the game. I do know how to score a baseball game. Back from my play-by-play days, I've scored hundreds of baseball games. Yeah, I think Djokovic is 38, but still. Yeah, I'm not saying, oh, Djokovic is never as good as Alcaraz. Djokovic is still probably the best men's tennis player that's ever lived, at least to this point, right? But the current iteration of Djokovic cannot beat Alcaraz or Sinner, which has got to be really depressing for him. What do you mean scoring the game? No. This is like a very old American thing, but basically the way that baseball works, I don't even know how I'm going to explain this. The way that baseball works, you can get a sheet of paper and score the game, which basically means you track everything that happens in the entire game. And there's like this shorthand language that you learn to do it. So you're like, first up, flew out to right field, but you just write F9. And then you go to the next one and you're like, we grounded out to short, and that's a 6-3. It was more relevant pre-computers, but to be honest, it is very helpful when you're doing play-by-play. Hunting Bear, thank you for the $5 donation, brother. I appreciate it. What did Sepak Takrov do, dude? Yeah, newspapers used to print the scoring. Wow, Alcaraz just broke Djokovic to win the 3rd set. I think Djokovic might retire. I think now he's realizing that it isn't just a fluke and that he actually cannot beat Alcaraz in Sinner. Yeah, no, scoring a baseball game is like, if you go to the game, it is fun because you can. What scoring the game does is it allows you to keep everything that every player has done right in front of you. So if a guy comes up to bat, you can be like, oh, he's 0 for 3. He grounded out to short. He flew out the left. He got a single to the first baseman. Like, you can. I like scoring baseball games. It's kind of almost therapeutic. It is kind of like noting a chess game. Yeah. Like if you were watching a chess match and you were just keeping track of each move. That's kind of what that's the closest thing I can think of. Djokovic is still top 4 at this age. Yeah, but somebody like Djokovic that's so used to just beating the stuffing out of everybody, there's no way it sits right with him that he now doesn't believe he can beat these guys. Because he shouldn't. He can't. My opinion on the Savannah Bananas, I don't know why people hate them. If they're selling out stadiums and making people happy, then why not do it? I think it's just a bunch of crotchety old people that don't think you should flip your bats in baseball that are like, what is this? Fun? You know? I don't watch the Savannah Bananas. It's not something I'm like super into, but they're basically the Harlem Globetrotters for baseball. Kind of a new thing if you don't know what they are. Djokovic is basically a part-time player. Yeah, that's true. That's why he's the 7 seed, is because he only plays the majors now, essentially. I guess. I mean, if I was an old tennis great, I would show up for the majors. They do that in golf. Just show up for the majors, see what you can do. Clearly, he can do a lot. He made the freaking semifinals, a pile of cash. Probably had a lot of fun winning all those matches, right? Am I going to watch the Ryder Cup? That's the golf one, right? I've never been super familiar with what that is. Am I going to the U.S. Open final? Yeah, if I can find a ticket that costs me less than a donated kidney, then I'll do it. I would love to. I'm a huge tennis guy. Would love to watch the Sinner Alcaraz match in a final. I'm sure it'll be thousands of dollars, so probably not. What I could do is buy a grounds pass and go sit outside the stadium and just drink. That could be fun. Just buy a grounds pass and just sit outside, like right outside the stadium, and just hang out with friends, have a beer. That would be fun. Just sneak in. Yeah, it doesn't work. It is the biggest tennis stadium in the world, but I don't think you're sneaking in. Not in the U.S. What countries are great at basketball? That is not necessarily the U.S. sphere of influence. It's kind of weird. So it's the U.S. and Canada are both very good. Brazil and Argentina, for some reason, but like nobody else in South America. But Brazil and Argentina produced very, very good players. Spain, very good. Italy, kind of good. France, very good. UK, no. Germany, competitive. Not an actual threat at all. The Dutch, even though they're super tall, don't care. Then you go to the former Yugoslavia, but not all of it. Just Slovenia, Serbia, Croatia. That's basically it. I've never seen a player from anywhere else. Greece always has a couple dudes. Turkey is good. Turkey is definitely good. And then you've got up here, the Baltic region. You've got Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia all produce basketball players at a pretty good clip. And then Israel. Israel, obviously, that'd be like U.S. influence. They love basketball. Japan and South Korea and China all love basketball. They're not very good at it. China is probably the best at it. They do have a good team. Japan and South Korea like soccer and baseball more, but they do also like basketball. Yeah, Germany won the basketball World Cup. It's just not as big of a deal there, though, as France and Spain. France, in particular, is a good basketball country. Yeah, Germany produced Dirk, but I feel like if Dirk Nowitzki was born in Libya, he still would have made it to the NBA. Like, if you ever watched a documentary about him, it really had very little to do with Germany and a lot to do with Dirk just being Dirk. Like, just a weird, really weird dude. Yeah, also the Olympics is a bigger deal than the FIBA World Cup. Nobody really cares about the FIBA World Cup. I don't even know when it's going on. That's the basketball one. The Olympics are where basketball's champion is decided. That's when like Spain and the US and France and Canada are like all over each other. Also Russia, but they're not really relevant anymore. They're not really relevant anymore because they can't play in any of the stuff. But they were good. Eurobasket's going on? Yeah, that's fun because there are good basketball players from Europe, obviously. Greece just Greece has got Giannis. That helps. The Greek freak helps. What's my take on Australian football? You mean like Aussie rules? Is ice hockey a Canadian sport? No. I mean, the big three is US, Russia, Canada. And that's always a ton of fun. But Czechoslovakia, the former Czechoslovakia, plays hockey. Germany plays hockey decently. Austria does. Yugoslavia never really got into it. But Czechia, Slovakia, you get some players from up here as well. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Here, Finland, Sweden, Norway, all love it. Denmark kind of buns, but I think they have a team. I'm sure they have a team. So that's kind of who's playing ice hockey. Yeah, I mean, especially without Russia, I would say it's probably Sweden, Finland, US, Canada are the best four teams. If Russia's not allowed. Yeah, the UK plays, they just suck at it. I don't. There isn't really another way to say that. The UK plays ice hockey. I know they have leagues. I have British friends that bring that up, but their team never does anything. Of course, I watched the Four Nations last year. USA, Canada in a competitive tournament. The rivalry is insane. Baby, imagine if the UK wins the UK doesn't basketball at all, dude. I've seen one like college basketball player from the UK ever. Also, basketball, that's where you get Africa involved. Cameroon, South Sudan is actually quite good. They qualified for the Olympics. There are a couple of African nations that have been able to kind of get their stuff together. I think Nigeria plays as well and have the NBA is really focused on Africa and has a bunch of academies that it's built in Africa and is developing players like good players. Adamame, thank you for the 17 months on the Prime, brother. Oh, Angola. Yep, Angola has made the Olympics. I think they were at the last one as well. Oh, yeah. And Australia and New Zealand both are decent basketball places. Well, I'm glad you made it, Adamame. Welcome back, brother. NFL's starting to focus on Africa too. Yeah, I mean, because the leagues in the U.S. are so centralized, they can just go around and build academies to bring guys in. And like South Sudan's national team at the Olympics was really good. Nigeria's produced like 20. Yeah, but the thing is, if Giannis Antetokounmpo was born in Nigeria, the only reason he made the NBA is because he was born in Greece, and there is like functioning basketball leagues in Greece. Maybe now, if he was born in Nigeria, he'd make it through the NBA Africa stuff. But Giannis exists. Like, obviously, Giannis is ethnically Nigerian, right? His parents are Nigerian immigrants or whatever. But like, he's in the NBA because he was born in Greece, and he developed his talent in Greece, right? China's good at basketball, yeah. China loves basketball. It's like their favorite sport, which blows my... Like, they need to get better coaches over there or something, because the only guys that make it out of China are like 7-footers. And there's a lot of them, a lot of tall Chinese dudes, but you never get like a 6'5" Chinese wing, you know, like a guard or something. You only get one type of player out of China, and you would expect with as many people and as much infrastructure and as much interest they have in the sport, You'd expect that more types of players would come out of China, but they don't. Now, China had a kid get drafted into the first round into the NBA this year. China had a kid get drafted in the first round. They're still producing good basketball players. Chinese culture does not develop creativity in elite artists. That's an interesting conversation to have, but the Chinese do also have world-class gymnastics, which there is a lot of. It's literally called artistic gymnastics. So I think it's a little overblown to say, like, well, Chinese culture can't produce a good point guard because he can't think of the pass. It's like, I know. I mean, look, my experience with this is I had a teacher in middle school who was born in Taiwan, but he looks like me. And when I say that, I mean he looks American in the sense that, like, some random white dude. And so he took me on a trip with it was my family, a few other families. We went on a trip to China for a month and a half. We were there 5 weeks. And he is fluent, like first language fluent in Chinese. Fluent. Like, there's being fluent in a language, and then there's I grew up speaking this language. And so he's a white dude that is natively fluent in Chinese, which is super interesting. But the other thing that he also gets is, like, the cultures. His parents were American. They were missionaries in Taiwan. He was born and raised going to Taiwanese schools, speaking English at home, speaking Chinese with his friends and whatever. So he knows both cultures intimately. He explained it this way. The difference between American culture and Chinese culture is that if you put both of them in a cubicle, if you put them in a box, is what he said, and you give them a set of rules within that box, the Chinese person is going to whip the American person because their cultural prerogative is the ability to follow all of the rules in that box. So they're going to go through that rule set and execute everything they need to do in that box. The American is not going to do well in that situation. It is not like they're going to get bored. They're going to be on TikTok, whatever, right? They're not going to execute that set of rules nearly as fast. The switch up happens when something in that set of rules doesn't work. And if you missed the beginning of this story, this is from the guy that grew up in Taiwan, natively speaks Chinese and natively speaks English, right? Somebody that is literally a walker between both cultures. And he said, when it switches and when you're following that rule set and it doesn't work, and something on that rule set doesn't work, the Chinese person will typically sit and wait for instruction. Where the American person typically in that situation figures out a different way to do it. So the difference between what is, like, culturally hammered in, the only time I've ever had this explained to me by somebody that is obviously credible on this subject, is that Chinese culture creates people that are able to execute that rule set brilliantly. The American culture does not. It creates people that are often looking to get outside of the box, and then if the rule set breaks down, they can figure out a way around it. In terms of sports, I don't really know what that means at all. And also, both countries have hundreds of millions, or in China's case, over 1 billion people, and there is unique types of people all over the place. This is just like a perception of one person who knows both cultures intimately. It's like adaptability versus work rate. Would be the way to really boil that down into it. Like adaptability versus execution. But in that sense, you would think that then the Chinese national soccer team should be like Iceland, very well drilled. The tactics are, everybody's got it. But then it just doesn't work out that way. China's got a lot of different cultures. Not as many as the U.S., obviously. China does have some different cultures. I think there's a difference between North and South. Obviously, the entirety of Western China is like a completely different place, but don't go there. Don't talk about that, right? So, China's ever had a good football national team? No, they have not, which is kind of amazing to me. It's definitely a surprise. But Bermuda versus Jamaica is kicking off soon. Hallelujah! Finally, some good football. China has more cultures than the U.S. I think that's cheating. I think the U.S. is kind of cheating in this sense because the U.S. is an immigrant nation. And so the cultures in the U.S. are literally just ripped from like every country. Has Messi retired from international? No. The headlines you're seeing is because that was Messi's last game with the national team in Argentina because he'll likely retire after the World Cup, but the World Cup's not in Argentina. Right. Yeah, exactly. Where it's like the US is cheating and then it has like if China has all these different cultures, all of those different Chinese cultures are going to have expat populations in the US. What about indigenous? I mean, there is an indigenous population in the US. It's just less than 1% of the country. And they're really concentrated into few parts. If you know your history, then you know. I hate clickbait titles. I mean, to be fair, we were talking about all of that stuff earlier. Now, I mean, we've been live for however long. We're just talking about whatever. Do. British descent Americans is basic. No, that's just not true. Because people say that because the U.S. got its independence from the U.K., but in reality, there are so many German, Scandinavian, French, a big portion of the United States is in what used to be French Louisiana, right? Then Spain, the entirety of the Southwest U.S. was in the Spanish Empire. It wasn't in the British Empire at all. Obviously, the Dutch trading posts, New York was one of them. I think people think that white Americans are all British. When if you look at a map of like the number one descent for white Americans, it's very often German or Irish. Nordic, French is common. Yeah, there's a ton of German ancestry in the U.S. Now, it's become very Americanized. America does have a very strong unifying culture, you know, barbecue and football sort of vibe, right? Oh, Italian? Dude, I forgot about the Italians. There's so many damn Italians in the U.S. It's crazy. My mom's family is Italian. Yeah, the Irish diaspora in the U.S. is larger than the population of Ireland. I wouldn't be surprised if Norway's was the same. I think there's quite a few countries, actually, that the descendant people of that country in the U.S. are numbered higher. Why is U.S. culture have the best pizza? I don't know if we do. I do love pizza in the U.S., but I've had some unbelievable pizza in Italy. But the tomato comes from the New World. So Italy didn't unlock the pizza until they found us, okay? We unlocked the pizza for them. Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting ones is New York is actually the most Jewish city in the world. There's more Jewish people in New York than in Israel. At least in any one city in Israel. Like Melbourne has the biggest Greek population outside of Athens. Yeah, that also makes sense to me. It's interesting how all that immigration stuff works. Dude, I like Chicago-style pizza if you're going to go after the different U.S. pizzas. Best pizza I've had was in Germany. Nah, I don't believe that. But then again, the best cannoli I've ever had was in rural Florida. So Chicago's the second biggest Polish. Oh, yeah, dude. All the Poles went to Chicago. I don't know what happened with that. But, like, even the kid, Gaga Slonina, who, like, got courted by the Polish national team, the goalkeeper, he came up at Chicago Fire. He's part of that Polish, like, group in Chicago. Do-do-do. All this stuff's really interesting, and what's also interesting is how it plays out in sports, obviously. All right. I'll tell you what, chat. We got on late today because I was working on some other stuff, but I think we're going to go ahead and call it here. I don't want to go too late. I got some stuff I got to do work-wise. San Andreas, thank you so much for the Prime. But I was sitting here debating, like, is it too late to go on, or should I just get on and we just talk about World Cup qualifying and FM26 and whatever? And I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you guys for the subs, like San Andreas for support, or San Andreas for supporting the stream, allowing me to do this. Love you guys. Fist bump. And I'll tell you what, I'll see you on Monday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for hanging out with me, talking shop, talking about whatever. And I am looking forward to Monday. All the best, everybody. See ya.